All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to talk about one of the hardest parts of being on the phones, handling objections. We are going to break down a super simple framework that helps you stop fighting with customers and start guiding the conversation, which is how you turn that hesitation into a confidently booked call. Let's do this. Sound familiar? You hang up the phone and just feel like you've been in a battle, right? Constantly pushing back against questions, concerns, call after call. It is absolutely exhausting, and it can feel like you're just spinning your wheels. But here's the thing. What if we've been looking at it all wrong? And this, right here, is the single most important mindset shift you can make. When a customer raises an objection, they aren't slamming the door in your face. Nope. They're usually just unsure. Maybe they had a bad experience with another company, or maybe they just need a little more reassurance from you. Realizing this isn't rejection, it's actually a request for guidance, is the very first step to taking back control of the call. So if it's not a fight, what is it? Well, your role is to be the guide. Think about it that way. Your job isn't to win an argument or prove the customer wrong. It's to be the calm, confident expert who leads them from their problem to the solution. And that solution? It's booking the appointment. So let's get super clear on the objective here. On every single call, your mission is to guide the customer, help remove their hesitation, and keep the conversation structured and always moving forward. This whole approach puts you in the driver's seat, but without ever sounding pushy or confrontational. Now you're probably thinking, okay, that sounds great in theory, but what do I actually say? I get it. And that's exactly where this next part comes in. We're going to look at a simple but really powerful tool you can use in almost every single situation. And here it is, a simple three-step framework. First, you acknowledge their concern. Something as simple as, I understand, or that's a fair question, immediately shows you're listening and you're on their side. Second, you answer briefly. Now, this is crucial. No long, rambling explanations, just a simple, confident answer. This keeps you in control and avoids confusing them. And third, you redirect. You always bring the conversation back to the goal, booking the call. This simple structure is your secret weapon for keeping every call focused and on track.
So how does this whole framework actually hold up in the real world? Let's walk through some of the most common and toughest scenarios you face every single day and see exactly how to put this into practice.
The big one, the price question. The second a customer asks this, it can feel like the whole call is about to fall apart, right? But really, all they're trying to do is make sure they don't overpay. They're just looking for some reassurance.
So here's the playbook, using our 3 steps. First, you acknowledge. That's a great question. Then you answer briefly and confidently by explaining the service or diagnostic fee. The key is to be really clear that giving an exact price requires an expert to actually see the problem. You're not being evasive, you're just being honest. And finally, you redirect. The best way to get you that exact number is to have our technician take a look. I have an opening this afternoon. Would that work for you? See? It's not a hurdle, it's the necessary next step.
This is the classic stall tactic. The customer is feeling unsure, maybe they're checking prices with competitors, and they're just trying to delay making a decision. Our gut reaction might be to apply more pressure, but trust me, that's the absolute wrong move. So what do? We fall back on the framework. First, acknowledge calmly, of course, I completely understand. This takes all the pressure off. Then, answer by creating a little bit of subtle urgency. I can tell you that our schedule for today is filling up pretty quickly. And finally, redirect by making it super easy for them to say yes. How about we go ahead and pencil you in for a spot just to hold it? You can always call us back to change it if you need to. You've guided them forward, no fight necessary.
Okay, now this next one is super important, and there's a very firm rule here. The customer is looking for technical answers, but your role is not to be a go-between for a technical deep dive.
The rule is absolute. You do not transfer the call, and you absolutely do not try to wing it and explain technical details yourself. The correct response is professional and simple. All of our technicians are currently out on calls with other customers, but I'd be happy to have a service manager give you a call back shortly. With that, you've set a clear boundary and offered the right way to handle it.
Oof, this one can feel like a direct attack, can it? But 9 times out of 10, it's really coming from a place of fear. Fear of being ripped off, or maybe a bad experience they had in the past. Getting defensive is the fastest way to lose this customer for good.
The absolute key here is to stay calm and shift the conversation from justifying the price to informing them of the value. Acknowledge their concern.
Then, answer briefly by explaining what that service fee actually includes: a certified professional technician, a full diagnosis of the problem, and an exact upfront quote before any work begins. You're not arguing, you're just demonstrating professionalism. Then what do? You confidently redirect back to booking.
You know, not all challenges come in the form of an objection about price or time. Sometimes it's the customer's personality that can derail the call. Whether they're really frustrated and emotional or just love to chat, you still have to be the one to guide the conversation.
For an emotional customer, your first job is just to de-escalate. Acknowledge what they're feeling. I can absolutely understand how frustrating this must be. You stay calm and you gently guide them toward the solution. Now for the talkative customer, the goal is to politely regain control. You listen for a moment, acknowledge their point, and then you firmly redirect. I really appreciate you sharing that with me. To make sure we get this sorted out for you as quickly as possible, let's go ahead and get your information.
Let's talk about that moment of panic. A customer asks you a question you genuinely don't know the answer to. The temptation to just make something up can be really strong, but that is a massive mistake.
There is one golden rule here, and it's simple. Never, ever guess. It is so much better to say, you know what, that's a great question. Let me find the exact answer for you, and I'll call you right back, than it is to give wrong information that's just going to cause bigger problems down the line. Real confidence comes from being honest, not from pretending you know everything. Okay, so we've covered a lot of what you should do. Now let's flip it and quickly go over the common traps that cause us to lose control of the call and, you guessed it, lose the booking.
Let's quickly break down these call killers. Over-explaining? It just confuses the customer, and you lose control of the conversation. Trying to win an argument? You might win the point, but you'll lose the customer every time because you destroy their trust. Guessing at answers? That erodes their confidence and your own. And of course, failing to redirect. That means you miss the whole point of the call, which is to get that booking. Every one of these mistakes pulls you away from your real job, being the guide.
So after going through all of these different scenarios, all the do's and don'ts, what does it all really boil down to? What is the one big idea you need to walk away with today?
This is it. This is the entire philosophy in a nutshell. Your strength doesn't come from having the perfect comeback or winning a debate. It comes from your ability to stay calm, to stay confident, and to guide the conversation forward, treating objections not as roadblocks, but just as part of the journey.
And this is why it all works. Using a simple structure gives you confidence on the call. That confidence, in turn, builds trust with the customer. And ultimately, it's that trust that leads directly to the booking. So the question to ask yourself after every call isn't, did I win? It's, was I a fighter or was I a guide?